Hi, you guys. So I'm finally shucking this lavender. It's been sitting in this bag from the Sea Basket Farm. You guys know I love this family, Greg and Marilyn Grundy. Please continue to send healing energy their way. They are so magical, wonderful, and he's like, he's going through chemo. He hasn't really shared exactly what's going on with her, and that's okay, but they are warriors and they are custodians of the earth, and I've really gotten to know them this year more, because before I would just see them at the market, but they're busy. We talk a little bit, and those of you who don't know, and welcome, by the way. Hi, I'm Tallulah Kelly. If you've never been here before, welcome to the Magical Medium. And I go by Tallulah, Lula, Lou, Tally. I even have one of my friends who calls me Tally. So she's like, because she kept calling me Kelly. Kelly is my birth name, but I changed it to my surname. And so she's like, Tally. I'm like, oh. And it was cute because the way she said it, it sounded like that. And I never felt like she was saying Kelly. It was interesting. Although now it's, one of my friends lately has been calling me Kelly because he's like, I feel like it's part of you. And like, it's okay. Like you can be used to it. Sorry, I just realized when I got my mom sweats on. I think they're like extra large, but I don't care. I mean, I can wear maybe I should. Anyway, they're so big, and then they got these big ass fucking pockets in here. So they're so big that when I'm walking, I have to tie them like super tight, because they'll fall. Anyway, I digress. So welcome to this channel. I'm a little outside my comfort zone right now, but that's okay. So we're gonna work on shucking lavender. But anyway, so we used to go, this is how it would look. And we'd go to their booth and they'd be at the swim market in Washington on the Olympic Peninsula. Oh, that was interesting. Did you guys hear that? It was just the wind, but it was the way it hit something. I'm a little wild woman today. So very long story short, we have been buying from them. This is our 4th year, I think. I think it's our 4th year. But this was the year they decided to retire because they're both not well. And he's like, I can't run the farm. And he's like, I mean, if you saw how elaborate their setup was at the Squim Farmers Market on Saturday, it was, I mean, all their, he says things obviously, but like he doesn't always say certain things, right? Like basically we walked away from them, I think it was last year, and he's like, I don't know how they do it. He's like, I don't know. Or I think somebody told us they retired, and he's like, good for them or something. He's like, I'm surprised, they're doing this. And this is before we even found out that they had any physical ailments. So basically I would buy lavender from them, from their farm, from Sea Basket Farm. And I would use their stuff for different things. This is gonna be, basically they have bags that are shucked that they do that are like really pretty clean. I mean, of course you're gonna find some stems in there. It's like natural, right? But they're pretty clean. They do a really good job. And so that's already like packaged up. So I'm like, I don't really want to use that. This has been kind of sitting out and drying for a while. So I've kept the packaged stuff to make like essential oils and sachets and stuff for gifts. But this is more for like my cleaning supplies, water, dishes. It's interesting. It's not really coming off. Normally it would just, it's pulling at the stem. So that could be my error. I normally would have shucked it by now. It is in real time, September 22nd. It's the first day of fall. And I guess because it's harvest energy. So much, and I know I'm kind of jumping around, but basically I've been wanting to shuck this. I'm so sorry about that. But it's a really beautiful day and I don't really want to shut the door. That's like really been getting on my nerves lately, but I'm doing my best. So I get my Palo Santo from him, even though obviously, you know, he doesn't grow it here in the Pacific Northwest, but he has a family. Like he went out and he told me recently that he said I was organic before it was a thing. He's like, I never understood it. You know, he's like, I don't know how old they are. I have no clue. I've never asked. You know, they're those kind of people that like could tell me that they're old, much older than they are, and I'd believe them. You know what I mean? Because, you know, whatever. But also, they work so hard and they're farmers. So it's like if they told me they were, you know, younger or whatever than I thought, I'd believe that too. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're very wise and gentle and loving and beautiful spirits. I just love them both so much. And I was just having a memory that I had with him a long time ago about Greg. I was trying to remember his name because I'm like, Gary? Because a lot of times when we'd go to the farmer's market, I'd get really high before I went in there because there was so many people and the energy. And being a telepathic medium, you know, no matter how grounded I am or how much Reiki I did that morning, if people, you know, are exposing themselves, so to speak, there's kind of nothing I can do but just go with the flow of it. So I had just gotten high and we fell in love with them because their booth was right in front. It was huge, huge. And I don't know if he makes stuff too, but Marilyn makes like dream catchers and you know what I mean? Like they're super magical. Oh, by the way, Bubba wanted to be here. Sorry. Sorry, Bubba. I didn't mean to forget about you. Bubba wanted to be here. Oh my gosh. Also, I've been getting a really strong vibe. Let's put it this way. I don't know when, but I know a familiar is coming. I can feel it. I can feel it. I think it's a dog. I'm like 90% sure it's a dog, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got a dog and a cat at the same time, because we're both cat people. And he's never really had a dog, but like he loves dogs. So, and lately I've been like obsessed with like watching like rescue shows and dogs and like, or like I'll be drawn to a picture and they're like the rescue, and the rescue's like only a few hours from my house. This has happened to me a few times, and there's rescues all over the state of Washington where we live. um by the way, I use the stems for smudging. I'm going to be making, I have a feeling things are about to get serious because, and I think the reason why they're having me share this with you is that every, like I said, every year we've been going there and buying stuff from them, and they also, but they don't just have, you know, the Palo. So let me back up. So basically, long story short, he wanted to do Palo Santo, I guess, and he went and actually like he like traveled all over and found a farm. I forget. I think they're in Costa Rica. I know they're in South America somewhere, but he found a farm and knows the people, and they do everything like they're totally like they're the real deal. You know, there's no they don't use their, you know, they let the trees fall, you know what I mean? Like they harvest the Palo Santo, like they walk the old way. And very cool, I found out, I mean, I knew from conversations and just being around their things and their food and how good I feel when I eat their food from their farm. But he told me in the last, you know, few conversations that he's been providing things for a lot of the medicine people, or he's been working with the medicine people or something. I don't remember exactly what he said, but just basically like, that he's been a steward of the earth, and it's really important for him to do it in the most, you know, natural ways or whatever. So long story short, again, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm just going to keep talking, and if I bounce around, I bounce around, and thank you for dealing with it. Some people don't like it. I mean, I've had people who've commented on my channel, and they're like, dude, you're like a fucking, like, you're so annoying. You can't stay on topic. You know, quit smoking the weed or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? You don't have to be here. That's okay. Even if I wasn't high, I'd be doing this. But I'm pretty much always high. No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. That's not true. That's not true. I'm high a lot, but it is my medicine right now until the earth comes back to the energy, and Spirit does have me do it because of my gifts and my abilities. They're not like other people. Even people who are like me, they're not, you know, I'm just a super sensitive Sally, and I need it. So when we went to the farmer's market this year to get our lavender, I was all excited. I was like, we had money, and I was like, dude, I was like, I cannot even express to you how excited I was to shop in his store, because and before it was like, you know, when we first started shopping with him, we were on food assistance. And so it was the farmer's market took the food assistance. So they knew that. And we found if we went there later in the day, and not even on purpose, we just found out on accident, that if we went later in the day, that he just gives stuff away. Cause he's like, what am I gonna do with it? Like, we have what we need. Like, I do this, you know what I mean? He's like, so they just bring it to the food bank, but they don't even want to sometimes deal with that. They're tired, you know? And their setup, like I said, was so beautiful and elaborate. And I mean, I was really shocked when after Alder said that, I was like, oh yeah, like, I guess I never thought of it like that. Like, yeah, like they work their fucking asses off, you know? And anyway, so we found if we went later in the day, we'd spend like $20, but get like $60 worth of food. And so we just started doing that. And then we just he'd be like shoving food. And then I was like pickling, and, you know, and honestly, it's interesting because I don't know if I've ever shared this with you guys. I'm sure I have at some point, because I've been doing this channel for so long. But when I was growing up, on my dad's side of the family, Uncle Lloyd and Aunt, oh my gosh, that's right. That's right. I did say that to her. Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Marilyn. So they're Greg and Marilyn instead of Lloyd and Marilyn. But my Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Marilyn were just like them. Like, they were just like, they did everything the old way. You know, they were the first millionaires in our family because they had so much farmland. And he knew when Chicago started, you know, now I'm 53, so he's my dad's uncle. So he was really my great uncle Lloyd. So imagine, you know, so back in the day, he realized that Chicago was going to expand when they started making suburbs. And so he bought a bunch of farmland. He was very, his farm was well-to-do. Marilyn and Lloyd Brandow, I believe, was their last name. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. And just magical people. And they lent money to people. They helped my dad so many times, like, because they believed in my dad and they knew he was a hard worker and things like that. And it was like my dad's uncle. But anyway, I forgot about that. I love when I forget about things and then I remember, because I'm just like, that's so cool. Like, that makes me even more, like, I know it's a wink wink from Spirit and from the ancestors, because, you know, they are in the area that Alder's ancestors, you know, where he's from. And so the land and the soil and everything that they're using is really Alder's family. You know what I mean? Isn't that crazy? Because they were one of the biggest tribes up there at the time, and one of the oldest ones. They date back a minimum of 1,000 years that they can find. But you know, the white man comes in and takes over. Sad. But, you know, so, and even that was really cool, because where the farmer's market is also on the ground. They have all these like plaques and stuff of like people who've like donated to make sure that those kind of things keep continuing in the Squim area. And Alder's, they were literally like standing within a few feet of Alder's ancestors' names, you know? So they've just been a pure blessing to us in so many ways, and we're just really grateful to them. In fact, I'm making a tomato soup from them right now. You guys know I've been working on this tomato soup for I don't know, weeks. I can't wait to eat it. I'm actually really excited. Like I said to Spirit today, should I have it today? Because I could almost have it today, and they're like, oh no. They're like, just wait. And I know it's going to be worth the wait, because they had me get red chili pepper flakes yesterday when I was at the co-op, or Saturday was today, Monday when I was at the co-op Saturday. So that was really cool. And yeah, just everything's building. So after, buying from, we go there this year, they're not there. We flip out, we melt down. We've never not seen them there. It was really weird. And so I was like, oh my gosh, did one of them pass? Like, I was really concerned. And they're like, oh no, they said they just couldn't do it anymore. They're like, they were here actually, I think they were there until the Lavender Festival, and then they just called it quits there. And so I was, I'm like, there's got to be a way for us to find out, like, if they're still going, or, what's going on. I'm like, if anything, I just really wanted to find out if they were okay too. And so I found their website, the one I've plugged to you guys, and I reached out to them, and he's like, oh, that's so interesting. He's like, we're actually, gonna start doing it from the house. And, like, they had such a huge following. They were there for 12 years, I think he said. Or somebody told me 12 years. I don't remember who told me that. So I was like, oh, I'm like, that's a long time, And they called it quits. And so, and they were a huge staple there. And it's interesting how the telephone game goes, because some people said it was political. And I didn't ask him the reason. He offered, he said, no, we just didn't want to do it anymore, like, it just was exhausting. He's like, we were so tired, and it just wasn't worth it. And so we've been buying things from them. So I bought a huge crop of lavender from them. I just got the vibe to do that. And then when the food was coming, I was like, I made a zucchini soup. Now I'm making a tomato soup. And I got the vibe to do that as well. And then I got an email, what's today, Monday? So last Wednesday, last Tuesday, because what they were doing was Tuesday, they would put the list out of like what was available, what was fresh, like what was, there, like for the farmer's market. Like, they weren't selling her, like their art stuff. They were just selling their like farm stuff from the house. I mean, I'm sure people were buying stuff from her too, but I think they have them online. You know what? I'll put the link below, and then you guys can find out if you can still buy things from them. I don't know how long they're going to do theirs. If they have some still, I'm not sure. He may still have lavender for all I know. That's like bagged up and on their website. I haven't looked, but like I said, there's a lot of cool things. So just check out the website and keep them in mind for next year. And if you want some really good Palo Santo, I'm sure he probably still has that. So he sends out a list, and he says, you know what? We're just exhausted. It's been he's like, between my treatments and, just everything this year, he's like, we're closing, we're going to seed, or whatever they say, like the farm talk. He's like, early. He's like, we're covering everything up. We're winterizing like this week. So he's like, if you want anything, this is it. This is your last shot. And I was like, oh, of course, the week that Alder's gone, I was so bummed. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I almost didn't email him, because I'm like, if they're fucking not feeling good, I don't want to, I know that they care about us and stuff. And so I just sent the most honest, open, loving email where I was just like, I'm totally okay to just see you guys next year. I'm like, but if you are still going, I'm like, I would really like to get a few more things. And he's like, well, it depends on what he's like, some things aren't available. So between our conversations, our emails back and forth, I placed an order, and I'm really excited because I got more rosemary. I got a shitload of rosemary, so I'm super excited about that. And because their rosemary is so good and so potent. And then I got thyme and oregano, and the thyme and the oregano are late blooms. And he's like, they really like, and something about the flower or whatever. But I just got the vibe, because he's had it for a while, and I wanted it, and they kept telling me no. So I trust that Spirit's sending it to me. So either it's for food, or it's just for medicinal purposes. But I'm going like real witchy this year. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling my witch. Are you guys feeling it? I just got the chills. I'm feeling my, like, I feel like I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm awake. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but I feel more awake than I've ever felt. And how are you guys doing, in real time? Yesterday was the new moon in Virgo, the dark moon, and also it was the partial solar eclipse. And then today is the equinox, fall and spring. It's the half of the year where it's balanced, where the day and light are equally the same. Also, these are really good to throw in the fireplace, which Alder is actually, I'm super excited. He's actually excited to like get that going and put that in. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. So not only am I having all these blessings of things that are happening, but also like Greg gave me so much information and I got so many downloads talking to him, and because he had things on the list, and there were some things on the list that I wanted, and Spirit was like, no, don't, just get this, just get that, blah, blah, blah. And he said, just so you know, because everything is like going, he's like, I know you're going to put it to good use. He said, tell me how much you want of everything. And then I will, he goes, and then I'll make them real fat. I'll just like, he's like, that'll be like my little, thank you for letting them not, letting them be used instead of it just, not that it can't go back into the earth for mulch or whatever, but he was saying like, oh, you know what I just realized? I don't know if that's good to have that rubber band on there on my hands. I just realized I had a little thing here that's kind of damp to rub my fingers, so perfect. Thank you, Spirit. Also, let's take a water break. Please stay hydrated. Staying hydrated right now is so important while we're going through all these ascension. And if you're having like body aches and headaches, and it's because your body's changing. Your body is acclimating to, it's like if you're here, that means that you're at least somewhere in the vicinity of the 5D energy, and so we're going to be talking more about that over the next several months. And right before I started this, I heard so much magical music, but one of the things that came through was the House of Dragon, Blood of My Blood, from the Game of Thrones. And the dragons came to me earlier and they said, have you not seen like what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I have. And they're like, do you understand? I'm like, I do. So I don't know if you guys have been noticing just like how ridiculous things are, and that things are tick, 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 tick. We're in the tick, tick, tick right now, because the dragon energy was explaining to me, they're like, the dragons are not about ego. The dragons are about obviously we need some ego to survive, but they don't, it's not like that. That's not where they operate from. And so the dragons have been a custodian of Earth for a very long time. And the year of the snake, which is what we're in, snakes are an energy like they're reptilian, like dragons. And when it gets to the end of the year of the snake and they shed that last skin, the dragons are going to be here too. And when we go into I'm getting the chills over my body. And when the year of the horse happens, it's like just know that the next 6 to 7 months are going to be so beautiful and so amazing that people aren't even going to understand. Like, obviously, if you're in the shallow end of the pool where you shouldn't be, right? Like if you're not healing things, if you're still in your shadow, if you're going through certain things, it's going to be a rough time. But you will come out on the other side of it. Some people won't. Some people aren't going to get through this, like, let's just put it this way. What the sitting American president has been doing, it's like, you guys know my mom always says, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them. If somebody tells you who they are, believe them. And as for a sitting American president to say something as awful as, I hate my opponents, You cannot be the leader of a country that cherishes and treasures its independence, free will, and freedom of speech. You cannot say out one mouth, hate horrible things, and then say, I'm trying to end hate speech. I mean, there's just so many things where it's like, yeah, it's very fucking interesting is all I'm going to say. So, do you remember, if you've never seen the movie Ghost, watch it. It's so amazing. But do you remember this scene where the bad guys, when the bad guys die, like these dark creatures come from them like out of the shadows, and they like drag them away? It's kind of like that. Like hell is a place of your own making. You know, like if you believe you're going to hell, I don't know how that works, but you know what I mean? But I don't see that the way that spirit has shown things to me. I don't see it that way, like heaven, hell, whatever. But I do know that we are very powerful in this incarnation and others. And I have dealt with spirits that haven't crossed over. So, I mean, there's so many blurred lines of like what is real, what, you know, but I feel like if we speak it into being, it's real in some way, on some level. If we deny that it exists, then it goes away in some way, in some level, you know. I got the chills. So a lot of stuff is really happening right now. And of course I wouldn't watch it because my time is precious. I'm not going to waste 40 minutes of my life to watch the eulogy for Charlie, but not about you, brother. Like, what the fuck? And I think people are really starting to see narcissism like that, you know, that it's almost like a disease, you know. You're not born a narcissist. The spirit calls me to, I'll post it soon, but I found this really great thing where it stumbled into my orbit from oh, I can see his face right now. I guess it doesn't matter. It'll come to me when it's meant to. But it was, he's like one of my favorite doctors, like Dr. Mate, Gabor Mate. And he was talking about, you know, you have to remember that the sitting American president was a baby just like everybody else. But if you don't receive love, if you don't, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the product of what we are trying to stop. Because humanity, part of being human is helping each other and taking care of each other. So if everything's always about you and always, you know what I mean? It's like, that's an old, outdated, you know, the patriarchy of it, all of it. And you can only hide things for so long. They will come to the surface. They will come to the surface. You can only kill so many people. And I'm not laughing like it's, of course, I'm sorry that that happened to them, right? But they were part of the story. So I'm laughing in terms of like, you can run, but you can't hide. There's not, you know, so many, you hear this from rich people all the time. It's like, you know, you can have all the money in the world, but if you have a disease and it's incurable, there's nothing you can do to fucking stop it. Nothing you can do to stop it. If you, I mean, I'm saying like, if you've done everything and, you know, whatever, it's like, so this control, this illusion of control in humanity is what is breaking loose right now. And we're going to begin to see the incline of love and compassion and the decline of hatred. And, you know, we should never be wishing for anyone to be dead. That's like, I don't know why this is coming into my orbit, but I'm going to speak of it. I don't know if you heard about that young man who they're saying he hung himself from a tree. He's black, African American, whatever feels comfortable to you. And they say that he hung himself. And Colin, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, the one that took the knee and was like, I'm not going to bow to this bullshit, the football player, he said, suicide my ass. He's like, I just don't, like, he just couldn't wrap his mind around the fact that a black boy would hang himself from a tree, you know? And so he's like, I will literally pay for his fucking autopsy. I want to know how I want to know for sure. I don't know the outcome of that, but that came into my orbit and I was like, wow, I just got the chills, right? Because he's just like, I'm not saying that, you know, I mean, I think he's basically like, you know, there are some people that like maybe he did to prove a point, or you know what I mean? Because just because he's black, African American, you know, it's children these days are different. You know, younger people, some people are really concerned that it's never going to change, or you know, and if they're depressed or whatever, they may do something like that, you know, to prove a point and say, no, that's exactly why I did it that way. But I don't know, you know, like I'm not tapping into that right now. So very interesting things that are happening on the planet. And I want you to see these things too and use your intuition when you're listening to them. I'm getting the chills all over my body. Ooh, when I looked up, it was 3110, which is January 31st is the day that Baba died. Baba. There's just so much unseen things right now. We're going through a time and a place that like not many people really understand. And so, you know, we're here to help them. But I can tell you right now, just the little changes I've been making in my life lately, I'm so much happier. I'm so much calmer. And I know this will sort itself out too, you know, this situation. And I've been immersing myself more in the community. So who knows? I may meet somebody, or Alder may meet somebody, and, you know, but we have one more phase of remodeling on this before the end of this year. And then next year we have some plans, some big plans for it, but we're going to kind of see where we are next year with it. But right now we just want to, like, you know, just make sure that it's really safe and livable and, you know, for the winter. And as of right now, just for some of you who are wondering, as of right now, Alder and I are working things through. We had some big moments, some big come to Jesus. I'm not going to lie. Even though it's like, you know something, but you don't want to know it. It's like, I knew he was doing me dirty, you know, so to speak, as D from Consciousness Evolution says, they did you dirty. I always crack up when she says that. By the way, I'm getting a weird pain like right here out of nowhere, which is kind of interesting. I'm trying to like lift up but I'm like, what's this part of your... Is this the ovaries? But anyway, it's just interesting that while I'm working on this, that's happening. So maybe that's for some of you, and maybe you need some lavender, or it could be for me, like maybe it's like waking something up. But yeah, it's been super interesting for Alder and I, but we had it was all meant to be, and it all had to go down that way. And I mean, I'm not dumb. I knew, you know, but what are you going to do? I can't make him stop. I can't, you know, there's nothing I can do. And so the breakthrough, oh wait, before I tell you about the breakthrough, for those of you who are having cramps, I'm putting together mugwort. That's what I was going to tell you. We'll get back to, I'll put a pin in that story. Thank you, Spirit. That's probably why they did that right there. Cause I got this email from Greg, and he's like, hey, do you need any mugwort? Or do you use mugwort, or do you know how to use mugwort, or something like that? And I said, oh, that's so weird that you said that. I'm like, because it's something that I've been looking into, and something that I've been, you know, I was at the co-op on Saturday, and I was looking at all these like different spices and teas, and the co-op where I live is like magical. It's like one of the best co-ops I've ever, you know, just their selection is like, I remember the first time I walked in there and I was like, just especially with the herbs and spices and teas and tinctures and like really cool. They know their shit. I know the politics aren't great, but I don't know any co-op that's ever had good politics. That's another thing that needs to change. And I don't know, because I don't know the story. I contribute to it. I pay my dues and I'm part of it, but you know, I don't know I've been thinking about volunteering there, but I haven't got the green light from Spirit. We'll see what happens. So when I was there on Saturday, I kept looking at mugwort, and I was looking at a few other things, and I was like, you know, okay, maybe just not this trip. I was like, maybe next time. So it's kind of interesting, right? So he says to me, hey, are you interested in mugwort? And I was like, oh, yes, I am. And so he started telling me about his indigenous friends and what they use it for. And I was telling him some of the research that I did. And apparently mugwort is not good if you're pregnant or lactating, right? If you're breastfeeding, no go with the mugwort, or if you have certain allergies. So do the research before you use it. But if you don't have any allergies to it, it's supposed to be super good for the female anatomy, and definitely for cramps. So I think I may be putting something together, and maybe that's why Spirit called me to get so many different things this year, because I've been thinking about doing tinctures. But I told Alder, I said, I'm not doing anything in here until like this place is, you know, I mean, I've done the cleaning like enough that I can right now, but I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like I've been keeping things like in drawers, or if I'm drying them, you know, it's like, it's not gonna like go in food, or like, you know, on someone's, you know, tea or anything like that. Like obviously, you know, some of them it's fine if it's gonna like go on your hair or whatever, it's not gonna do anything. But you know, the things in the air, if you leave things in the air, then a lot of them, they collect what's in the air. So you got to be really mindful. I've got stuff hanging inside my witchy cabinet right now to dry. And the eucalyptus, I didn't get pulled to put that anywhere else than where it is. So I don't know if I'm going to be making oil for that. I think that's just for me. And like, maybe it's to experiment with, because I don't feel like I'm meant to share it, but we'll see. Yeah, the only two things that I've kept out are basil, and I've been using that, and eucalyptus. So yeah, so he said his mugwort is up to 8 feet tall, and when I was researching it, like the highest one, they say it's rare to get up to 6 feet. That's how like witchy he is too. And he's like, I don't know if I'm a medicine man. I'm like, dude, I'm like you said, you've been a steward of the earth. I'm like, you work for Gaia. Like, I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you're a medicine man. You know, it's just their medicine is different, and how it comes out into the world. So I have a feeling I'm going to be doing something like this, but I don't know. I have to find out what the rules are, like on Etsy or things like that. Or maybe I don't have my own website, and maybe it's time I get one. I learned how to do it when I was in college like 15 years ago. I went back to college in my late 30s, but I don't remember how to do it. It wasn't my favorite class. That's not like my jam, you know. But hey, if you wanted to do trade services and start a website for me, that might be kind of cool, because then I could place orders. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Spirit will tell me what to do. This one doesn't feel like there's no way that's gonna happen. So I'm gonna have to try and just pull this out. Maybe they want me to, let me see. Do you want me to keep any of these as full sticks with those two? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Do you want to keep any of these bundles to use in like a full, you know? Okay. You want me to shuck it? You want me to shuck all of this? Okay. I just want to make sure, because it wasn't like opening, and then I kind of felt this weird vibe. And so I always go with what Spirit says. And I was like, well, maybe they want me to do it like that, you know? So yeah, so we know about the mugwort. Yeah, and yeah, so getting back to Alder and I. You know, I mean, the last 14 months has been some of the hardest 14 months of my entire existence in this avatar. But I feel like when I finally let Alder go, like really let him go last week, like when I had like all these like moments and breakthroughs, and like I was just like, I'm done with this motherfucker. I'm done. I said to Spirit, I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, that was it. That was the last straw. I was so angry with him. I haven't been that angry with him in a really long time. And it was something that he used to do when I would get angry with him. So basically what happened was we had made plans last month. Well, we had hung out together and we got some things done, and then there were other things that needed to be tended to, and I was like, hey, I'm like, what do you think about, you know, this or that? And we kind of like bounced things back and forth. So we had kind of tentatively planned for Monday to, you know, run errands, get things done, yada, yada, yada. When I started to look around, I realized, I'm like, I don't know if I really need to go to the store. It was on Sunday, and I was like, I don't know if I really need anything. And so I messaged him and I said, you know what? It's okay. We don't have to do this. We don't have to do that. I'm like, I can wait a few more days. And he said, no, I can do it tomorrow. Like, all is well. And I'm like, okay. So when somebody like tells me that, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I kind of used certain things and ate certain things because I was like, oh, cool. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So I'll do this. And because I'm thinking I'm going to get stuff tomorrow. I'm like, so I'm good, you know, like, okay, cool. Even though I like, and I even said, I'm like, I don't know, I kind of get this vibe like I'm not meant to connect with you. Did I listen to my gut? No. But I wasn't supposed to either, because Monday we messaged each other, and then we spoke on the phone, and then when we were getting off the phone, he's like, I'm gonna go do this thing. And then, you know, I'm like, cool. And then I messaged him and he's like, you know, I was like, I'll see you, you know, when you get here, kind of thing. He's like, oh, it's not gonna be that long, drink some water. And I'm like, okay. So I'm kind of like waiting. He's telling me it's not gonna take that long, and hours are going by, and he's like, he's barely 5 minutes up the road. And he tells me this job's going to take like half an hour, like an hour tops kind of thing. Now it's midday, so I'm not really doing anything because I'm like waiting for him. But I also know that sometimes he'll say that a job will take, you know, whatever, and then it takes 5 times as long, right? Because so I thought, oh shit, he must have run into a problem or something. I don't hear from him. Like 3.5 hours go by. Message him and I'm like, hey, was it, you know, tougher than you thought, kind of thing? And he's like, oh no. He's like, I got a call from a client or whatever, and they offered for me to or they said I can go and do it now. And so I went and did that, and I was like, oh, cool. And I thought, okay, because we had spoke that, I got the vibe that we were meant to go on a little trip together, you know, an overnighter, like to the beach or whatever. And he got that vibe too. He's like, I feel like I'm meant to go sit with spirit and, you know, work with my plant medicine, you know, because he was working through his shadow stuff. Dude, not only did he just not let me know, because I'm like, I said to him, I started to like get really pissed until I said, okay, I took a breather. I'm like, all right, he's got a lot on his plate right now. You know, and at that point, at that time, I had just confronted him on that Thursday when I found out that he was like doing a bunch of shit he shouldn't have been doing. Or let's put it this way, when we were separated, I was like, we're separated. Like, what you do with your life and your body is whatever, but just let me know, you know, because I think that's fair. And of course, he had gone back into the shadow and started having, you know, things with other women. And so it was hard. And honestly, I was kind of shocked. I really didn't think he was going to do that. When he left here, but he didn't for the first, several months. I think, I don't know, he hasn't told me yet, but I have a feeling it started after Baba died, because he did not, I don't know if he's really, I haven't really talked to him about it, so I don't know how and when and if he really processed her death. But when he was with me, I know, it affected him and all that. But like, there's been times over the months since she's passed that I've said things like, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like, you don't have moments, you don't cry, you don't miss her? He's like, no. I'm like, she was our best friend. He would cry just thinking about it. When we were like good, when our family was good, like he was like, we would both just like cry, like just even thinking about her not being around us. So I knew that it wasn't him. I knew it was his shadow. I knew it was that darkness, that demon that's been with him since he was, his innocence was stolen from him when he was 3. And the demons that crawled out of those molesters into him is, something that he's been struggling with, and I've been struggling with him and watching him go through, and it's hard, So what really pissed me off was when I looked at the clock and it was like 4:10, and we were supposed to go to the post office to pick something up for me that had come in, and they close at 5. And so he's like, I'm not going to make it by then. And I'm like, okay. And even that, I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay. And I said, okay, well, are we going to at least, you're going to come and get me though, right? Like, so that I can go and get water and groceries and stuff, right? And he's like, no, I'm nowhere near your area. I'm like, you fucking jag off. I'm like, oh man. I tried calling him. I tried texting him. He wouldn't respond. But in a different version of me, I would have, been like blowing up his phone like, you're a fucking asshole, you're so selfish, blah blah blah. Instead I said, okay. And so I called him and I left him a message, and then I listened to it back and I sounded like a maniac, so I deleted it, and then I hung up, and then I took some deep breaths and I said, can you please call me, can we please discuss this before you go off grid, for a week? I'm like, I need to talk to you. I said, it's important. And because I wanted to see how far away he was and be like, can you at least like, anyway, so that was interesting. He wouldn't pick up the phone. He wouldn't respond to my texts. And I lost my noodle and screamed and cried at spirit. And I'm like, I don't ever want to talk to him again. I don't ever want to see him again. I'm like, he is a fucking asshole. I'm like, that piece of shit that drives the bus for him, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, it hates me. I'm like, he hates me. That demon, that darkness hates me, because he knows that if Alder spends too much time with me, if Alder's with me, he knows that I'll win. He knows it. He knows it. That's why he's been deflecting all this time. That's why Alder won't spend time with me, or wouldn't spend the night with me, or all this time. Like when I'd ask him to come to dinner and he wouldn't, or he would say yes, and then he didn't want to stay. He wanted to just pack it up and take it with him. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Just this crazy stuff where I was like, okay. So as far as I was concerned, there was nothing he could say to me. So luckily, I mean, we get bottled water for me to drink, and I had enough water that I was like, okay, well, I just basically from that moment forward had to be super fucking frugal, and I just couldn't eat certain foods because I didn't have other things to go with them, or to make them taste the way I'd want to, and it's not worth it. So and it was fine. But the interesting thing was, is I ended up like fasting more like before this change, and he finally reached out, or I reached out to him on Thursday night, because my landlord's super cool. We're friends, and I know if even my neighbors, like, I know if I was like, hey, can you take me to the store? Hey, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have any fear-based energy. The cool thing is I do have a community here. They may not be my, bestest friends in the world, but like, I know that they're good enough people that like, they wouldn't just leave me hanging. And not to mention, I had money here. I had more money than I realized I had, which was cool. So I knew I could get groceries. And, there's a bus stop, so I was like, I don't want to take the bus, but if I have to, I knew I could. So it was really interesting, and it gave me time to process through all of that, because it made me realize, like, that I hadn't like healed certain things, and how can I promote loving people unconditionally and whatever if I'm not going to do the same for my own partner, even when he's being a shit, you know what I mean? Like, because it's not really him driving the bus. That's the shadow. But I don't have to have him in my orbit. And so that's what I was saying to Spirit, I was just like, I am fucking done. Like, I'm done. I'm like, they need to invent, sorry, my legs are falling asleep. I'm like, they need to invent a new word for like how I feel about, I seriously like need to get my pants out of the way. I was like, they need to like invent something, because, oh yeah, the level of anger I hadn't felt that in a really long time, and I needed to get it out. I needed to work through it. So that was Monday. I texted him Thursday and said, hey, I'm just like trying to see where you're at. I said, I reached out to the landlord. He can't help me. I just need to know, like, if you're not going to be around, like, basically, like, I need to ask the neighbors, whatever, to take me to get water. Or I said, I'm going to have to start using the drinking water, which I could. It's just really expensive, to use to like do dishes and use in the toilet and things like that. So he responded and he said, I'm available, tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And I said, what time? And he, gave me the time, and that's all. And I just said, okay, see you then, with an exclamation point. And I'm sure he, and I at that point was like, I don't know what he's done, where he's been, who he's talked to, what's going on, so I have no idea what I'm walking into. But it didn't matter. I knew that for me, we were going to have some type of conversation around it. And so I got in the car, and he was really polite and really kind, and I could tell he was super open, and I could tell that he was better. And so I was like, hey, how was your trip? And and so he told me he went to La Push. If you guys remember in Twilight, that's where the werewolves are from, La Push. That's where he went. And they're Native American. Alder's Native American. Like, his family is like literally like part of the Sklallam tribe up here. Like, they sit on the board and like all that. Like, their generations. His grandpa was the chairman for years in the 60s or 70s, I think. So he was drawn to La Push. I was like, wow. I'm like, that's interesting. And he said he had like a lot of aha moments and whatever. And so by the time we were done, like, we were driving and whatever, and then when we got to the store, we ended up sitting in the parking lot for a while to talk too, because I told him, I said, he told me all the good things, and I wanted to hear the good things, because I could tell that he was different, and I could tell that he had changed. And I thought, well, he's in a really good place right now, and I haven't seen him this good in a long time. So I thought, I'm just gonna let that go unless it comes up naturally. And it came up naturally before I popped out of the car. I said, I have to be honest with you. I'm like, I was ready to like kick you to the curb. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, Monday was, and he's like, I know. And I go, the way he responded was the way I always wanted him to respond, right? Like, be a human being, and like recognize that like I have a life. Like, Mondays, I was born on a Monday. I love moon days. It's like one of my favorite days. That's why I'm doing this right now, and And it's fine. I putzed around and I did things and I got things done or whatever, but I was just like hanging and hanging and hanging. And I said, do you know how fucking selfish that is? I go, that's what a narcissist does. And I said, and that was your, you know what it felt like? And he was like, what? And I go, it literally felt like a fuck you from your shadow that was like one more, it just like you wanted to give me just one more fuck you or one more like, you know, like where I would disconnect from you. And he's like, that's exactly what it was. And when he said that, I'm like, he's never said that before. So I said to him, I'm like, I am open. Now I'm open. You know what I mean? Like now I'm like, okay, now I'm open. Now I'm ready, you know, to try with him. But still I'm very aware that not only are we still in the energy of eclipse energy and the dark moon and all that, like not only am I aware of that, but I still have this feeling that he's not out of the woods yet. And until he is, I'm just going to do my best to just be a good friend and listen when he needs, you know, that. But I'm also getting, like right before I started this, I got this vibe from Spirit, excuse me, to, we've been talking about having dinner together and watching Sleepy Hollow. And right before I started this, it came on. So I don't know if that means they want me to do it tonight, because he's coming by here today. He's picking up more stuff from the farm. My last thing from the farm, at least for now. He said he's got so much mugwort. And he told me that I was welcome to all of it because he's not going to do anything with it. And he just wanted to grow it. I don't know if he's always grown it or something, or I think he said he wanted to grow it or something. So he was really excited. He's like, so I'll give you as much as you need or want so that I, you know, anyway. Life is good. Life is interesting. And I'm hopeful, you know. I mean, I've always felt like Alder is my Bashert, you know, like beyond like the twin flame thing. Like I just, but when the last several months, you know, while he and I were trying to work things out, and then, you know, when Bear, my ex, came into the picture, I was starting to be like, I don't know what to think. Like, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to believe right now. But what really saved it was when Bear was mature enough to say to me, because he's, you know, almost 6 months younger than me, and he was mature enough to say to me, I'm not ready. He's like, I'm not ready to give you what you deserve, like what you need. And like he loves and appreciates and respects that I'm like full on like in my witch and a reader and all that. Like he's always knew I had gifts and believed in me and stuff, but he's like, I'm not ready for that, you know. And he just landed like his dream job that he's been working his whole life for. So it's kind of interesting, you know, because if we were in different places in our lives over the last few months, I may have packed up my shit and moved to Colorado and been with him. I might have. I was really close. In fact, Monday when that happened with Alder, I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm like, I'm just going to get out of here. I started going through like all these things. I'm like, I'm just going to move out of here. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm going to go there. I'm like, just so to get a change of scenery, you know, maybe I'm meant to go there and like help him like find his spirituality. And I kept hearing myself and my ego, like all these things like I was going to do for other people. And yeah, so the ancestors and now even the dragons, right, are like setting me straight, like reminding me why I'm here, why I'm meant to do these things, and that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Alder's exactly where he's supposed to be. It's only going to make us better teachers, you know. I mean, one of the things that I said to him that I could tell it really resonated was I said, you know, obviously you and these women and like this was all meant to, you know, take place or whatever. I'm like, I get that. I said, but they don't know better. You do. I said, you cannot be a medicine man and that guy at the same time. I said, you have to choose. So the way Spirit had me call him out and all that, I knew it was something pretty profound because, I mean, he had that I mean, it was the last minute. It was the last minute, you know what I mean? But it wasn't, right? Because it was all meant to be. But I didn't want to have that conversation with him, you know, the week before the new moon. I really didn't. I just was like, being around that shadow that hates me so much, it's like walking on eggshells, and I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, I'd rather just, you know, love him. And, you know, I'm like, I'm not the right person for him, you know, like maybe there's somebody out there that's better for him, that will, maybe, you know, we only took each other this far. I mean, I kept going through all these different mindsets that I convinced myself were true. And then I started to realize that no, it's just that now that we're on the other side of it, I started to see things so differently, and how Alder and I were being tested. How much to, you know, like, what does love really mean? We both come from families that are very narcissistic, very controlling, very, you know, and interestingly enough, like, he's not, I mean, my family is, and as far as I know, still much in the third dimensional energy. But I think his dad's side is, and some of his siblings are, but the other ones, I mean, they're Native American. So no, like, they definitely believe in like energy and magic and things like that. So it's just so interesting. And then even with him the other day, I was saying, you know, because there was a lot of, I said, did you ever think that like maybe, you know, because I feel like in this tribe especially, you know, we're the ones that are breaking, we're stopping that from happening again through our lineage, you know, like it's not going to happen, like the buck stops here, like we're taking that on for the ancestors. And so I said to him, I'm like, you know, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if you had somebody in your ancestry who was a pedophile or a rapist or more than, you know what I mean? I'm like, because he's had so many different things happen to him, for him, you know, that not many people, I mean, you know, like I've said before, I've been raped and molested, and it's not easy, you know, to talk about, but it's happened. But nothing like what he's had to endure and what he had to endure as a child. And that's significant. And I said, I just can't believe that doesn't have something to do with your ancestral healing, you know, for your family, because I don't believe he'd be a medicine man if he wasn't. And so I said, you know, I feel like now Spirit's showing us like what integrity means, what love really means, and not just this, love you, I mean it. You know what I mean? It's like, do you though? Do you love me? Because if you really love me, you would love me for who I am and not who you know, want me to be. And that would get thrown in my face too from my family, because they're like, well, then we could say the same for you. Like, you know, why don't you love us like for who we are? And I was like, because that's not who we are. I'm like, we're not gossipy. We're not shady. We're not, you know, we are giving, loving people. We come from, like I was talking about my Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Marilyn, my great uncle and great aunt. You know, it's like, oh, I just got the chills. They're here right now. Oh, I love you so much. They were so great. My first marriage, we eloped to Vegas because his family was all over the world, and I had such a large family. I was like, I don't even know where to begin. And so we ended up eloping and having a reception back in Chicago. And I remember my dad said, make sure you invite, because I said, we're going to keep it small with just like 50 people. We don't want anything really big. And my dad was like, no, we can do something. Because my dad owned it was like a restaurant, banquet hall, bar, deli, like he owned the whole thing and made food from scratch and all that good stuff. And and so he told me I can have up to, you know, so many people or whatever. And I said, let's just keep it small. And when I didn't have my Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Marilyn on the list, he's like, you're not going to invite Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Marilyn? And I was like, well, if I do, then I can't have these friends, you know. And I was in my 20s. That's when it's like, you want your friends more than your family, right? Like, you want your party friends and your friends. I mean, I was 25, you know, so, and I ended up inviting my Uncle Lloyd and Aunt Marilyn, because my dad's like, I guarantee you will get more money from them than probably your friends, which my friends were super generous and they all had good jobs. So But no, seriously, I mean, we got married in 1997, and my aunt and uncle gave us $250. That's a lot of money back then. That's a lot of money now. But that was a lot of money, you know. It's probably like maybe like $500 back then, or almost, something like that. Maybe not that much, but I don't know the way the money's going. But yeah, so, but like my friends, most of my friends gave me 50 or $100, almost every person that came. And then I had some people who gave me nothing. The irony is that my friends gave me more money than my family did, because a lot of my family didn't have money. So anyway, and that's not what it's about. I'm just saying, like, you know, back in that mentality of like, you know, get what you can from these people. And they're lovely. I mean, and everyone loves them. They're always, but I mean, they showed up. And they were my great aunt and uncle, and they showed up. I had aunt and uncles that I didn't even invite. Oh, that was a fun reception. Anyway, so right now things are good, and honestly, I do think that Alder's back on the track. I don't know if he'll stay. I pray he does, but I said to him yesterday, I was like, I don't know if, or Saturday when I saw him, I was like, I don't think you understand, like, you know, karma's very, 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 very real. She is here, and, you know, but just as much shitty karma you put out, you can put out just as good karma, you know, so, and balance it quickly. But I said to him, you know, as long as it's genuine and right and from your heart, and you're not like trying to buy your way into karma, she knows. Spirit sees through that shit. I know it's funny when people think that they can somehow lie about certain things, like that the universe can't see what they're doing. It's funny. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I really thought it was going to be way more than this, which now is so interesting, because you know what though? That's not true, because I've used a lot of, like, I kept pulling stems out of here, because there's some in the bag too. So here's the one that I buy packaged, and look at that. I mean, that's way more. And I think this was $5 more than this one, which is kind of crazy. Maybe it's the other way around, but still, I mean, that's like so much lavender. And I got a lot because Alder wanted some too, because it helps keep the critters, you know, out of the car and stuff. And he's been living out of his van. So yeah, so this is some serious stuff, you know, that's happening in the world right now, and nobody gets away unscathed, you know. Whether, you know, I think sometimes I may have done a disservice in how I would pump Alder up, you know, like, and feed his ego, because I was trying to help him with his self-esteem. But I realize now that, you know, I think somehow that may have backfired a little bit, especially over the last year. I think I was more in like, please sir, can I have some more, you know, instead of like really like stepping into my power. And in the last several weeks, I've really been like coming back to self. And something happened on Saturday, and I was like really feeling it. I was feeling my power, and then like seeing those witches just really took it up a notch even more. And I realized, I was like, no, I'm not going to let anybody, I don't care how much I love them, I don't care, you know, whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to allow people to just, you know, steal my power anymore. It's just not going to happen. So if you're like me, I urge you to take your power back. Oh shit. I just realized it after I did it. Son of a bitch. Hold on. Was I meant to pour that in there? Really? It's okay? All right. Well, because I realized the bag's been sitting there and, you know, like getting, you know, kind of dusty. I had them turned upside down, but still, you know. And then I just dumped the bag in there, and I was like, oh, did you want me to shake that out somewhere else first? And they're like, no. So they're like, it's fine, because literally it's going to be for cleaning. This is going to be for cleaning agents. And this beautifully packaged is going to be, which I need to get this out of this plastic. I know he tries to use the most natural things. It could be like a vegetable plastic, but I don't know. It kind of looks like I don't know. I'll ask him. It's good for me to know. I like to know those things. But he did just, oh, I just heard the lavender won't soak it in. Oh, interesting. I never thought of that. That kind of makes sense. Yeah. So here we are, an hour and 9 minutes later. Did you have fun shucking lavender with me? I did. It's kept me super calm. I mean, it's such a fun thing to do. So look out for that. I don't know how they're going to be having, I may just be using these herbs this year for experiments. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have, oh, I just got the chills. I may not be selling anything this year, or maybe I'll just be like, gifting them. Because I was thinking, I'm doing the witches walk in a few weeks, and I was thinking I wanted to maybe like hand out sachets or something, or do something witchy for the witches, like for like the winners, like to give them like something cute. Because I'm doing readings the night before for like the adult party, and then the next day is like the parade, and like it's kids and animals and families and adults, but so there's several prizes, like best hat, best broom, best, you know what I mean, like the whole shebang. So I'll have to look on my, I do have a flyer. That's great. I did take a flyer. So what I should do is give them each like maybe a little sachet with like some mugwort, and like maybe I'll make them like little things. Ooh, it's got my brain going, especially because I've got a lot of these, and if I do small ones, I could probably get like 3, I might be able to even get 3 strings out of each one of these and use them, reuse them again, because they're still on here. So I could probably figure out a way to do that. I love repurposing. It's just such a good way to take care of our environment. All right, Spirit, I think that's it. So blessed fall, welcome, and I urge you to really take care of yourself. And for our Southern Hemisphere family, I know you're going into spring, same thing. So whether you're planting or coming into harvest, I'm starting to, I think the grass got to me. Also, like, can you guys see like how much stuff is on my legs and on my person? I'm actually going to let it go like onto the floor because I have to vacuum anyway. So it'll be good. It'll smush into the floor, the lavender, and then when I vacuum, it'll be good. That's how I kind of like take care of my carpets too. Yeah, so focus on making your own food, making it from scratch. There are so many recipes. Now there's so many things all over the internet, all over YouTube. Look for organic vegan if you're that kind of person, if you're somebody, and if you're eating meat, make sure that you know where it's sourced. It makes a difference. If you're putting anything into your body or on your body, you should know where it's coming from. Like I feel good knowing that like all of these beautiful things that I'm going to be working with, these herbs and foods, are from these people who love Gaia as much as I do, who understand and respect and appreciate her as much as I do. That's a big deal. Baba says bye. And so this is the time, because the more we do that, we align with Gaia. Number one, walking barefoot as much as possible in a very clean, safe place, obviously, and drinking very good, healthy water, knowing where it's sourced from. Try to get water that's not in plastic, or if it is in plastic, find out what kind of plastic it is. There are some grades of plastic that are like because I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I don't want to get water from my water bottles anymore, because of the leakage and stuff, or the seepage. And I got the vibe from Spirit that they were like, no, it's not like I drink it too fast, and they bottle it like it's a local one. It's not like an international like company. It's like they're a local like mom and pop place. So they're like, it doesn't sit in there long enough for you to like concern yourself with that. At least right now I'm getting from them like they're like, just we'll focus on this right now. We'll get to that eventually. Because Alder and I used to go and get water, and we would put it in like glass containers. We'd go and get it from, the waterfalls, like rivers, like natural places. And some of them, especially from the springs, you don't even have to boil it. You can drink it. It's literally fresh from the spring. Like it came straight from the mountain, tumbled over the rocks, like, you know, but it depends on where it is. You know, when I first moved to the Pacific Northwest, it wasn't as stifled and kind of crazy as it is now, but Washington does try very hard to keep all of our things clean. But a lot of you guys know I spoke of some months ago, we had a oil spill into our blessed Olympic mountains. And of course it spilled into the water that was going back up, you know? So it was kind of upsetting. It was interesting too, because it was like where the water was coming down from the mountain, and then like where it kind of goes back like up, it's like right there is like where it happened. So it's kind of interesting. But I don't know how that's all going to work, but we are the stewards of this planet. It's our job and our responsibility, nay, our responsibility to make sure that we tend to it. Especially, you know, interesting that they had me wear this shirt today, right? The sea creatures, like, they depend on us. So we got to take better care of it, especially now that we know that we can make certain things out of plants, you know, like containers and plastic bags and things like that. Like we can make them out of things that aren't going to harm the environment, you know, or aren't going to, you know, hurt all of us. I mean, basically, sorry, I just started to like, all these downloads started to come through. You hear what I'm saying? All right, you guys, it's been a blast. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this channel. And as always, I love you and Spirit loves you. Take good care of yourselves and each other, and keep looking out, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be changing and evolving on all of my channels. And if you haven't checked out Sacred Sunday, episode 19 from the new moon solar eclipse, I highly recommend you do. I'll put a link in the description box. It was really good. Spirit had me set the channel so that, like, no, it was 18 and over. They didn't have me do any tags or anything. So interestingly enough, I'm sure there were some people watching live because people were coming and going, but there was only one person who commented, and their handle was Mystic Lion. I don't remember exactly what they said, but they were just like so grateful, and they were like, you know, thank you. I'm glad I stumbled upon you or whatever. And because I didn't feel like we needed to go live. I felt like it was going to be a group, like, collective thing, but it was meant for them to see it, you know, or meant for other people if he is a subscriber. Or they, I got the vibe, it was a very masculine vibe, maybe because it was Mystic Lion, but it definitely felt like a gentle man. So yeah, so we're gonna keep on keeping on, but I do feel like things are changing and evolving, and as am I. And thank you for sending good energy to Alder and I, and to the channel, and thank you for your donations and your prayers and your subscriptions and your likes and your comments and your shares. They make a huge difference, and we are building in numbers every day. All right, you guys, I'll see you later. Bye.